Alright, hi everybody, Moonlight Choreops is here. For this week's video, we're going to learn how to turn and how to do single crochet. So first, I'm going to start off with 10 chain, a chain 10, I hope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the chain 10. What we're going to do is now we're going to turn and we're going to go back. And we're going to do a single crochet row back. When you turn, unless the pattern states otherwise, you're going to want to chain 1 and then turn your work. That's because you're going to lose that first stitch right there when you go to turn. So you're going to want to chain 1 and then turn. I don't really think it matters too much what way you turn. Sometimes it's gonna feel awkward, but I usually just turn my work that way. Now you're not gonna want to try and go through that chain that you just made. You're gonna undo it or just create kind of like a tangled mess. So you're gonna ignore the chain right there that is connected to your hook, and you're gonna go to this next one right there. So for single crochet, we're going to go through the top of that V. If you can see that little V pattern, you're going to go through the top like that, and then you're going to do that same motion you do when you chain and bring it through like that. Now you're going to have 2 little loops on your hook. That's good. This later in the next video, you're going to be able to see like how this helps you kind of keep track of where you're at in the stitch, as well as maybe sometimes what type of stitch you're doing. With double and triple crochet, it gets you have a lot more loops on your hook. So but for now we only have the 2 for the single crochet. Now we're gonna go through and do that same motion we do when we chain, but this time we're gonna go through both loops just like that. And now we've created a single crochet. If you look at it, it's going to continue making that V pattern, which is how you're going to be able to count your stitches later. The V pattern, it's fantastic, and you're going to love it later on, because not all patterns make a lovely V that makes it easy to count. So once you did that, we're going to keep doing single crochet all the way down. And again, this is just going to take practice, as it can come out either too loose or too tight. It'll get better with practice as you figure out how to hold your yarn and kind of like what you need to be doing. But if it ever happens that you get like a little funky stitch or something in there, again, you can just slip your hook out and you can pull it slowly. I do recommend pulling it out slowly for right now, until you pull a full stitch, and then you can just slide it back in like that. So that's how you can undo a stitch in single crochet and kind of like fix your work. Just gonna speed up a little here. Okay, so now that we're at the end, what we're gonna do is our lovely little turn. Again, we're gonna chain 1, and then we're gonna turn it. And now that's the way I tend to turn. Now this time we're not going through the top, because we just made a row of single crochet, and it has beautiful little windows for us to use. So right here, this little extra bit is your chain. That's the like kind of space you're gonna lose as you turn. And now there's this little window, because single crochet kind of makes these little boxes, if you can tell. Now you're going to slip in through that, and you're going to continue to do your single crochet all the way to the other side again. And in through the window, pull through, just like that. This is kind of like really difficult to film, I'm not gonna lie. I'm still trying to figure it out, the first video, I was actually doing this by only watching my phone recording, so that was really tricky, and this time I'm kind of just looking over my phone and glancing back to make sure the camera's in focus. I'll kind of figure out the system. Now once you get to the other end, this little bit right here, this little bugger, can be tricky because as you can see, the window is kind of hard to see, and yeah, it's just, it folds over on itself. Sometimes you can turn it over and look for the V. What I like to do in this situation is don't use the top of the hook to jam it through. Sometimes that creates tangles. I like to use the actual hook part of the hook and kind of like hook it in, and then I like to use the top of the hook to ensure that I have that other like side of the V, and just like that, and then you can pull it through. But make sure you're like counting your stitches here when you first start, because sometimes you will think that that is the end and you won't do that last little stitch there, and then you'll lose a stitch. So just make sure to count. And that's where it kind of gets tricky, because in crochet you're going to learn it's really hard to count to 10, and even harder when you're working with larger numbers. So that's what that looks like. Now a good place to start is you can either do little patches like this, or you can try doing dishcloths, because dishcloths are going to kind of just be this. If you want to do like a basic pattern, it's just going to be this back and forth for maybe like a bit longer, maybe like a chain 18 depending on the size hook you use, and then that one's really easy. So I'm going to show you an example here, because we can also just tie off while we're at it. So you're going to pull this out kind of like big like that, and then how much ever yarn you think you're going to need to weave in the end is where you're going to cut it, so you have that extra space. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make the knot. So you're going to bring it like so. I like to do mine twice, so you're just going to wrap it around like that, and then you're going to pull it tight. Some people only do it once, I like to do it twice. And then you're going to have that tie off. And then we can go over weaving in ends in another video. But that is how you do that. Thank you.